Hello YouTube and welcome back to another zone video, if you will. And today guys, we are going to be doing another Christian article today guys, and it is on nostalgia, which is still yet to be completed by stress. It's always the stressful ones, isn't it? Although I strongly suspect this is the sort of thing that Chris deeply regrets more than anything else, because of what I'm going to suspect is going to come up in the next couple of minutes. So let's get started. I really miss the good old times of those days. Chris reminiscing on his high school days. Nostalgia is a sentimental longing or wistful affection for the past, typically for periods and or places with happy personal associations. It is also associated with a yearning for the past, its personalities and events, particularly for the good old days or childhood events. The foundation of much of Chris's adult life has been fixation on the past, especially for things that have deep significance to his life. In order to escape from the present, whether it be through cartoons, interacting with past gal pals and sweethearts, or reminiscing past experiences with trolls. I can grant that, because most of his 20s were taken up by him wasting his time more than anything with trolls, when if he had actually just focused on what he was doing then, or on, focusing on other things, maybe his life would have been so different. But which is half why you would gather he would think so much about this. Nostalgia in Chris's life. Although viewed as a mental disease when it was first discovered, nostalgia in the modern age is seen as a natural, common, positive emotion for escaping the confines of reality. Seeing how difficult it was for Chris to grasp reality as it is in its present, the way he grasps the past is unimaginably worse. Chris's nostalgia comes from a wide variety of sources. It can be speculated that the main source of Chris's nostalgia in unhealthy amounts is his stress. At a psychological level, nostalgia is the result of negative feelings and results in the increase in one's own positive emotions. It can also be used as a coping mechanism for dealing with whatever stressful situation one may be in. Given how Chris currently lives his life, constantly dealing with weans and being denied China by every girl he meets, Chris will sometimes use his past experiences in a strange way to relieve his stress. For example, at the end of the Jessica saga, Chris, feeling awfully depressed from losing his girlfriend for the umpteenth time, decided to contact Megan on her Facebook and hook up with her again, even after having been accusing her of being behind this current situation for the past 4 years. Other times, Chris will hold on to past experiences that gave him grief. For example, before attempting to contact Megan ever again, Chris always held on to how Megan was somehow responsible for his problems in his life for supposedly leaking information on him on Encyclopedia Dramatica with Mims and Lucas. This attachment to such events can become so strong that eventually Chris will snap from all of the added stress. For example, in several 2017 Facebook posts, Chris continually curses Megan along with other fruits of his bad memories. Anomina, nostalgia for a time before Chris was born. As with many people, Chris also experiences nostalgia for media released before he was born, much like a modern kid who loves 80s music and will tell you all about how Queen is the best band on the planet. Chris has a liking for I Love Lucy, Gilligan's Island, and other media released during Bob and Bob's time. This is common for people who spend more time around their parents than they do around their peers. Chris and his childhood. When it comes to nostalgia, people tend to cherish it in order to relieve a far simpler time. Chris is the quintessential candidate for this kind of mentality, reveling in his childhood memories and pursuing childlike fantasies to fill up the stressful parts of his life, purely to ignore them. After getting a bear hug at the 2018 MagFest from a fan who lifted his 212 pound plus body off the ground, Chris commented on the nostalgia he felt, saying, Hey, did anyone get video or photo of at Spinal Palm hugging me and lifting me up in the air after the panel? I would love to have that video to watch over and over. I never thought I could ever be lifted up high by anyone since I got too heavy for my parents. Right. Manchester High. Of all the memories Chris holds dear, he seems to be the most attracted to his years in Manchester High School. It isn't too hard to see why. His years there were among the last where he frequently got out of his house and interacted in a social environment. This is best shown with the Green County conspiracy video, the Lego replica, and him wearing the jacket as shown with the 26th of December 2014 incident. He also purchased a school desk which he uses as a workstation, allowing him to further transition back to his happiest years. For many years, he fixated on the idea of a high school reunion, but his numerous attempts at trying to hold one failed, likely for the best, as the MHS of real life can't possibly compare with the one in his mind. Like many people who overindulge nostalgia, Chris has a rather warped view of his time at Manchester High School in retrospect. He often looks back on it as a time where he was surrounded by friends and could have easily obtained the true love he seeks to this day. If only he had known how good he had it. In reality, his more down-to-earth recollection of high school paint a picture of Chris being bullied, fairly isolated, and disengaged. And believe it or not, that's actually the end of the panel, but I just gonna this is actually the photo of Chris, imagine himself as he'd imagined life, what could have been. And yeah, that's technically the end of this section. Now, we are not even breaking 10 minutes into this, and we're already at the end. So, just to give you guys a little bit of something else, I'm going to actually talk about something for about the next 10 minutes, which might come across as very, very boring, but you know what the hell? You know what? I'm going to just try it and see what comes out. Do you think it's possible with, it's very easy to assume that this it's a lot more bleak than it possibly sounds, because don't we all sort of long for the past? Don't we all sort of have some things in which we say, we wish we had done this, or we wish we could do this all over again because I loved what I learned from it? I mean, I can honestly say that my high school years, again, were the happiest years of my life. The year 2016, well, between, let's say, September 2015 and July 2016 were by far the happiest times of my life. From so far as my own experience goes, because it was my final year of secondary school. It was in the upper sixth. Things were just, I got on. I felt it's so easier to talk to other people. And bearing in mind, I went to an all-boys school, so you might assume that sort of thing might be nightmarish for a person like Chris. But for me, I got along so well there because my old school was just such a mishmash of just larger than life people. Everyone I remember at secondary school, I just remember them for just being so out there people. They were just such high eccentric and very, very funny people. A lot of really, really deep stuff as well that happened during that year as well, and I felt like there was much I could do. And then university sort of came along, in which just I know fine well that at some point later in my life I'll look back on my university education and realize that I learned what I had to, but it was a real big struggle, because I struggled big time when I was at university. I'm not going to lie to you guys. But you know what? I decided very simply that I wasn't going to allow basically 3 bad years to ruin the rest of my life. And when you think about it, things could have been much, much worse. I mean, I know fine well that's possibly a given, but you know, some of these things happen. Sometimes they don't happen for the best, but what I gained from it was a better understanding of what exactly I really wanted from this world. And as you can see right here, guys, I'm actually now holding my mic as sort of like an ood brain. I didn't realize I could even do this and still keep this working. In fact, let's just check this out. Yeah, it works just fine. I just thought this was pretty clever. So, what I thought was really, really interesting when I reminisce and think back on nostalgia, it's not just about the good parts about it as well. It's the parts that I don't even recognize were actually really, really helpful. Because when I was working for the Royal Mail, or just before Christmas of 2019, I was earning so much money out of it. I was working I felt like it was the ideal job I could have worked at, just so I could put money aside so I could fund myself to doing exactly what I wanted to do. Because every year I learn more and more about exactly where I want to be and what I want to do. So I always got a lot of solace, and there was a lot of clarity that was solved in these experiences. You know what? And I think the more I think about it, when I was in university, it made me realize something very, very important. That in spite of all the mistakes I made, in spite of everything I did wrong, in spite of what could have been if I had if things had been a bit different, but you know what? Because of the person I am, I don't particularly think they would have changed that much if I had been a bit different. Because you know what? I could have done really well, but I could have sucked big time if I was in a job immediately afterwards. Because when you think about it, it's me into the big wide world. It's me into the world of. It's full of all of that stuff, and I'm pretty much still in that world. It's just now that I'm free of education, as it were, I should be allowed to make my own decisions, not what other people have decided. And don't get me wrong, it's not like I don't pay taxes or anything like that. It's just I know deep down what I want to do, and I know deep down that I'm gonna have to work in any which way I can to ascend the mountain. The route to the top of the mountain is not quite the easy riding journey as it might have been, but you know what? I feel like that's what makes life a lot more interesting. I think it's very, very different when you ascend to the top of the mountain, but your journey is so. Imagine, right, if there was a story of a movie. There was a movie about some guy who rose to the very top, but there was no drama. There was no downfalls. There was no real character development. A guy was just from there to there, and it was so easy because he was good at that sort of thing. There has to be something in the way, and you know what? These sort of things are setbacks, but they are not drawbacks. They don't mean that I can't continue on this journey that we call life. So I would say that I'd say that Chris is reminiscent on nostalgia, mostly because he remembers the good times more than the bad times, which is the better way of looking at things, I think. But also for the fact that if he had actually, if things had been different, maybe he wouldn't be the person he is today. But then again, we generally don't know this, but it's not where you started. It's about the journey along the way. I still am trying to remain optimistic that Chris could possibly find some solace or some success in his life. The problem is that when you begin to look at it, it's almost like a very sad loop that, in spite of just being thrust into the big wide world, and with the fact that Chris is now nearly 40 years old, what is there any chance he's got now that it seems like the best years were long behind him, and he's now trapped in this sort of circle because of his frame of mind? And I don't really expect any real miracles or stuff out of this, but I try to remain optimistic. I would actually like to see Chris get better, but I don't know whether it's too late or what exactly can be done about it, because trying to help him, it's not so much about trying to help him, it's that he should learn to, help himself by, making him realize that the things he's done are not acceptable, making him see reality as we know it, as other people would see it, or the reality of his situations. So, I don't know if that sort of thing is possible or whether or not there is anything that can be done about it, but like I've said before, if you don't want to end up like Chris, then don't end up like him. Do something with your life, not doing the thing. In fact, you don't even really need to be that successful. Just don't make the mistakes that Chris has made, and you're already one up. And also, don't look at people like the way Chris does. that's the first step, I think, to achieving enlightenment, if you will. It's just do whatever you like, and you know what? You'll find something at the end of the day. There are people out there who could support Chris. There are people there who do feel sorry for him. But again, because Chris is so caught in this circle of depression, that it's so difficult if he can see any way out of this. I try to remain optimistic, but that's just how it's happened. So guys, I hope you guys have enjoyed this reaction video. Please this reading of Chris and Nostalgia. Please make sure to leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section down below. And I hope to love you guys again in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye for now.